You're listening to another episode of the Just Go Bike Podcast, powered by RAGBRAI. This is the award-winning podcast where we are all about the culture of cycling, just for the fun of it. Your hosts are Murph from the Murphology Podcast and AP from Parrot Talk. With tales from all over the nation, come for the bikes, stay for the fun, and leave with a smile. And now here is Murph.
Hey, that's me.
And AP.
Hey, that's me. Hi, Murph.
Hello, AP.
Here we are recording again in Parrot Talk Studios.
Live in Parrot Talk Studios, and we're also recording video. So hello, everyone who's looking at us as we are in our matching outfits.
That's right. We are in our Just Go Bike tech shirts today from Primal Wear.
Primal Wear.
Our favorite shirts.
And favorite.
Yeah, to wear when we're doing our Just Go Bike activities. So.
Yes, we are seen a lot in this shirt, and I think some people think that's all we wear.
Well, it's kind of close to it, but it's not true. I have a couple RAGBRAI shirts. So before we get to today's episode, I want to remind our listeners about the RAGBRAI town halls that we host every month.
Yeah.
We host them every single month, except for, I believe, August. We take a break because, RAGBRAI's over. But we'll have them monthly as we approach RAGBRAI, and they're usually the second Thursday of every month.
And what is a town hall?
It's a free meeting that we host virtually, so anyone can go from anywhere across the U.S. or worldwide, and we talk about what's currently happening in the RAGBRAI world. So what Matt's been up to, what the towns are up to, if we have any new merch, if there's registration deadlines that are coming up. And then we usually have a guest speaker or two.
Oh, nice.
So we've had Jess from Primal Wear. We've had nearly all of the community bike shops. We're getting through them. So most recently, we've had somebody from Dubuque. We've had somebody from Cedar Falls. So we've kind of gone through the list. And, because each of the community bike shops is a little bit different, we want to make sure that they kind of tell their story and people get to know them as a bike shop. So those are just a couple of examples of what we do in the town hall. It's really fun. It's, like I said, it's Thursdays. It's in the evening after work. And if you can't attend, they are all on YouTube. And I'm pretty fast at posting them on YouTube. It's usually the same day.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Pretty cool. And great segue to today's episode because we have another really cool bike collective on today.
Yeah, exactly. I'm super excited to hear from them. Like I said, they're all a little bit different. So hear what they've got to offer versus what the other ones have. They're part of the RAGBRAI community. They're part of the RAGBRAI Gives program. And the RAGBRAI Gives program is basically a way that we fundraise for nonprofits throughout the year on RAGBRAI. And we pick a different recipient every single year. Last year's was Honor Flight. This year's is the Community Bike Shops of Iowa. So it's just a nice way you can donate to these causes either during registration or by going to ragbrai.com/gives. And that website I just said it's also where you can go to get all sorts of information about the program, more detail.
And it's basically a lump sum. So all of us, when we register, we have the opportunity to donate. So it all goes into this big, it's like a thermometer thing.
Yeah.
And then after RAGBRAI, does it all get distributed to those bike shops?
It'll be distributed equally among the 6 community bike shops of Iowa that are participating this year. And we just recently passed the halfway mark, so I'm so excited. I hope we can get to our goal of $60,000 for these bike shops. So that would be $10,000 each.
That's awesome. You could do a lot with $10,000, especially when you're a volunteer-run organization.
Yeah.
So today we've got Kathryn, Mark, and Roger. They're on the podcast today to talk about the Cedar Valley Bicycle Collective.
Ooh, exciting. They're completely volunteer run, right?
They sure are.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And they have great things to tell us about Cedar Falls, Waterloo area, which if you've ever been in that area of the state of Iowa, they're really close. Like, I think if you don't know you're in Waterloo, you may just drive right from Cedar Falls to Waterloo.
Yeah.
Which is also where I went to college. So I can confirm that they have a plethora of bike trails and really cool things to see on a bike.
Yeah. We went to Cedar Falls on RAGBRAI last year, and I'm not just going to give them a shout out because they let me go on their brand new fire truck, but they were really cool. They did a great job. And this year, we're not going to go to Cedar Falls or Waterloo directly. We're going to kind of approach them from the south. We're going to be in their neighborhood, but we won't actually go to their town. So it is, I think, still relevant to this route this year, and obviously as a RAGBRAI Gives recipient. So I'm so excited to hear from them, hear a little bit about what they do and all the cool things they do for their community.
All right, let's get to it.
We will be right back.
Dear Friday, Toyota says let's put good times in gear with the Tundra, Tacoma, and 4Runner. Want some cool available features? We've got power tailgates to power game days and a trailer backup guide that's the champ of the ramp. Heck, we might even cancel Monday. Toyota Trucks. Find yours at toyota.com. Toyota. Let's go places.
Now, back to the show.
Joining us is not one, not two, but three people from the Cedar Valley Bicycle Collective. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi.
Good evening.
Well, can each of you tell us maybe your name and where you live?
I'm Kathryn Gilberry. I live here in Waterloo.
My name is Mark Stevenson, and I also live in Waterloo.
Roger White, and I live in Cedar Falls.
All right. And for those of you listening who maybe don't know the area within Iowa, Waterloo and Cedar Falls, I'm assuming that there are...
Yeah, they pretty much kind of grow together. They're part of the whole Cedar Valley region we have here.
Yeah, so Waterloo and Cedar Falls they're connected and make up the Cedar Valley Bicycle Collective. Awesome. Well, I spent lots and lots of time. I used to go to college at UNI and lived in both Waterloo and Cedar Falls. So I will say I'm a big fan of the cycling in that area. But let's start with you, Kathryn. Tell us a little bit about what cycling is like where you live.
Yeah, well, so this is kind of an important community for my cycling history because I grew up in a rural community. I was on gravel, and so my parents taught me how to bike, but it was really just like for vacation, we would bring our bikes and we would go on paved trails. And so it was when I moved to Waterloo after college, I bought my first bike and just took it on the trails we have all over. And one thing we kind of agreed on is we have such a great trail network here that you can get out and there's 135 miles of trails and you don't have to worry about cars and lots of just really beautiful places to be on the trails and cycle in our community.
Yeah, I agree. How about you, Mark?
Well, I like cycling quite a bit, so I've been involved in it most of my life. I've been a retail mechanic in the bike shops for 30 years around the area here, and actually ended up putting up on some gravel races. So if anybody knows about gravel riding, I used to do that. Still do it on my own.
Iowa Gravel Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So as you could probably tell, I'm big on the gravel roads around us. So
Sure. And Iowa has plenty of gravel. I'm sure we might hit on that a little bit later. How about you, Roger?
Well, I live in Cedar Falls, and Cedar Falls, as we've talked here, has a lot of trail opportunities, and these are paved trails. I'm a road bike guy, and so I don't do gravel with my skinny road tires, but I do enjoy riding the trails and the streets too, but certainly riding the trails in and around Cedar Falls. And there are so many good loops that frequently they come into Waterloo too. It's not just exclusively Cedar Falls, but so many good loops that you can ride 10, 12, 15, maybe even make a 20-mile loop for a nice couple-hour ride.
And we're all kind of a little bit different in our cycling because, yeah, Roger, you do a lot more road biking, and Cedar Valley cyclists, you've done that for a long while, and a lot of RAGBRAIs. The other piece we have here is we have a really good single track network too. That when the first few years I lived here, I looked at it on a map and it didn't seem like it was that many trails, because a lot of them are like on either side of the paved trail. So I'm like, well, I'm just going to stay on the paved trail. But then when I started doing some of the single track and just started walking and biking around, I realized that we have a lot of miles of really nice single track, and it's really beginner friendly, which is a great spot to get started in mountain biking.
Yeah. And, I talk a lot about mountain biking on this podcast, and people who come and do RAGBRAI know that there are no mountains in Iowa, but I think all four of us can say Iowa is definitely not flat, and there are plenty of places to bike that will give you the feeling that you're in a mountain.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And so I want to ask, I don't know if any of you have what you consider a favorite place to pedal, and it doesn't have to be in your area specifically, but I will say before you guys answer that it's pretty cool that I live in Cedar Rapids, which is probably 50 to 60 miles away from where you all are. And there is a dedicated trail called the Cedar Valley Nature Trail that I could hop on my bike from my front door and end up towards Waterloo. So that in itself is pretty cool. But do you guys have any favorites?
Well, yes, I love riding what's called the South Riverside and the Cedar Valley Lakes Trail loop, which is George Wythe on one side of the river, and then a former railroad line converted to a trail that's south of the river. It's called South Riverside Trail. That's a wonderful loop to ride because it's almost all wooded. You'll encounter nature, sometimes some wild critters, and trees and flowers in the spring, wildflowers. It's just a nice ride. My second favorite ride is one that you alluded to, and that's the Cedar Valley Nature Trail. I love riding that. That is paved now from end to end. And so it's about a little less than a 60-mile ride into Cedar Rapids. And then, of course, you can ride on all the way to Iowa City from there. And most of that is paved trail also. But start with the Cedar Valley Nature Trail here out of Evansdale, one of our adjoining Cedar Valley communities.
And will you briefly, give us your description of what George Wythe is? Because I think that needs to be chatted about a little bit more.
Well, George Wythe is a state park. It's part of the DNR State Park Network. It's all floodplain. In fact, most of the park floods when the Cedar River comes up because the Cedar runs right through it. There are several natural lakes that were formed, I suppose, over the years of previous river channels. And there's a good-sized, not entirely natural lake that the East Lake, or sometimes called Brinker Lake, a lot of that was excavated when they put the freeways in, and they took the sand and the whatever out of the gravel, out of the wet area, and used it to build the embankment for the freeway, and created a wonderful, not entirely natural, but a wonderful lake, in its result.
It's a beautiful, beautiful area.
And the trail in George Wythe is also part of both the American Discovery Trail and the Great American Rail Trail. Those two nationwide trail networks. In fact, the northernmost point on the American Discovery Trail, and there's a marker out there on this spot, is in George Wythe.
Oh, wow. All right.
If you look at a map, it is kind of funny. They clearly went out of their way to come up into George Wythe and then go back down.
Oh, now we all need to go on a scavenger hunt up in that area. Cool. Anybody else have a favorite place they want to recommend?
Well, I like riding the gravel road. So there's lots of things to discover on the north side of the Waterloo Cedar Falls community. So there's several rural churches that are kind of quaint, and There's actually a restored schoolhouse on Bennington Road that's kind of nice to visit that's out there. So a person could make, 15, 20-mile loop and visit all these places and spend some time out in the countryside. And again, it's just a real beautiful area to ride. It's nice rolling hills and very, very low traffic. And so it's a lot of fun.
And Mark has ridden every gravel road in Blackhawk County.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
I did that during the pandemic.
Wow. Offhand, do you know how many miles that was?
The county says it's 550 miles. So.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. I'm definitely feeling a lot of passion from all three of you about your love of the bicycle. So this is a great episode to tune into.
Yeah, thanks. We love it. We love bikes.
I think my favorite is there's the Katowski Greenbelt, which was like floodplain next to Blackhawk Creek. And so it goes up all of I think all of Waterloo that has Blackhawk Creek, that entire length of it is now Greenbelt. And in early spring, the whole area is purple and blue from Virginia bluebells. So that's a great time to do that trail. And that's single track, but all very, very friendly and welcoming.
And it goes all the way to Hudson. So it's 10 miles of natural area.
And there's little offshoots and things. I think if you do the longest possible route there, I think I measured it at 11 miles. But it originally was equestrian trails in the 50s.
Oh.
And it was developed by Leonard Katowski, was one of the Waterloo's park managers way back in the day. So it was named after him.
Wow. So in that area, I'll just call it the Cedar Valley area, you've got single track, you've got paved trails, you've got rail trails, you've got beautiful parks. I mean, you've got everything. And so I'm assuming that maybe that is a little bit of why the Cedar Valley Bicycle Collective was born. But does anybody want to tackle a little bit of the history?
Well, I don't go all the way back to its origin, but I have been on the board since I think 2017. It goes back to 2012, 2013 when it was first created. And it was a group, as I understand it, a group of cycling enthusiasts who thought we really should be making sure that there's a way to recycle bicycles that are no longer needed or wanted. And at the same time, provide bicycles at a cheaper cost for individuals in the community who need a bike. And that was kind of the original, as I understand it, the original plan. And so they went through all of the steps to create a nonprofit organization, to incorporate as a corporation, get the IRS approval, etc., and opened a shop. And initially it was all volunteer. About 2015, they started adding paid staff, part-time. But we've been in this location. We're in now on West 4th Street across from the convention center. Most of the time that we've existed, I don't exactly know, since I wasn't on the board in those early years, but certainly since 2015 or 2016, we've been at this location. We have a very, very supportive landlord who gives us a good rate for the rent and tolerates our eccentricities with regard to bicycles, and it's worked out well for us.
And describe what you're building, like what the inside looks like. I'm picturing plenty of bikes, but are there work stands? Are there parts? Or what does it look like?
Yeah, as I'm sitting here in the back looking toward the front door, I see 3 bike stands, each double head, so you can do work on 6 bikes at a time. To the left, I see 2 rows, bottom and top rows of finished bikes ready for sale. To the right is a long row of shelves covered with parts, some of which are recycled parts from bikes that have been torn down. There are a few places of new parts. I see new tubes and things like that. And then there's a workbench on each side. It's a former clothing store, I believe. It was originally just a downtown store, so it's kind of long and narrow. But that's what it looks like. It looks very much like a bike shop in back, and then in front it looks like a bike store with the racks of refurbished bikes for sale.
Yeah, we're kind of in the middle when it comes to the different bicycle collectives across the state of Iowa. We're not the biggest, we're not the smallest.
And who do you serve? And what I mean by that is, if you look like a bicycle shop, I'm assuming that people can come in and purchase things. But are you focused mostly on kids, adults, bikers? Like, tell us what you're focused on.
Well, mainly our clientele tends to be people who either are low income or no income. And we're here to make sure that if they need transportation, that they get it. So if they can afford to pay for the bikes that we have, then they just buy them outright. We have a lot of families, for instance, that come in here and buy their children bikes because, as you well know, probably kids grow, and buying a brand new bike for a child or a family of children can sometimes be a little bit of a high hurdle to cross for parents. So they can come here and they can find kids bikes for very reasonable prices that, will work for them. We have individuals, again, who are in need. So, we get people from the different behavioral services and halfway houses and immigrant services and veteran services. So we tend to donate a lot of bikes to those people with lights and locks and racks and everything they're going to need to be able to, live life in the Cedar Valley on a bike. So we do a lot of that. We had a kids bike giveaway in January where we gave away a bunch of bikes to kids through another group that helped us out with that, helping us connect with kids in the community that needed bikes. So it varies from just people coming in to look for a nice bike to ride around on the trails and don't want to spend a lot of money, to people who are really in need of transportation and everything in between.
And we give out helmets. We have given out a lot of helmets, particularly to kids.
I love that you're doing the kids bike giveaway. As we've been interviewing all the different bike collectives in Iowa, we've been talking about how, like, when I was a kid, or when all of you three were kids, biking was a lot of a bigger deal. I mean, you didn't even put a helmet on. You just, jumped on your bike to go find your friends. And not every kid has that luxury anymore, just because of distracted driving and, location. Maybe they're farther away from their school or their friends. So it's nice that you are trying to bring that back.
Yeah, we do a lot of work with an agency here. It's called Intercog. They work between different governmental agencies in this area to kind of connect needs with the trails and other things with transportation. But mainly the person we work through does work with kids programs through the schools. So we support that by lending her bikes when she needs them lent to her for bike rodeos, or we'll support her with different materials and things so she can teach kids how to fix flat tires. For instance, we're doing that this spring. We help her support some of kids rides in the area in different counties here. So we do work with other people to kind of get the kids on bikes and get that going. So
this person is part of the Safe Routes to School program. She's headquartered at the Council of Governments, Intercog, but I think she's dealing exclusively with Safe Routes to Schools program rather than transportation planning, which is what Intercog does.
Will you kind of describe some of the other programs or services that you offer?
Sure. So we also, besides helping out with the veterans and the people in need with bikes and everything they need to get around the Cedar Valley, we also do some educational stuff. So we have a program that's called Bike 101 that people can sign up for, and they can bring their own bike, or we'll provide a bike for the demonstration, and we teach them how their bike works, so they can understand what is a derailleur, how does a derailleur work, how do you get your wheel out of your bike in case you have a flat tire. A lot of people don't even know that. So we're teaching them all the basic knowledge of what a bike is and how it works, so they have a better understanding of what it is. And I feel like if people have a better understanding of how their bike works and what's going on with it, they have less fear of things going wrong, and they have a better understanding of, well, my bike's not shifting. It's probably got something to do with the stuff that they showed us at the Cedar Valley Bicycle Collective. Let me look. So they've got, it's not magic anymore. It's got some basis in reality.
Yeah. And I can attest to Mark's value as a teacher too, because I've taken Bike 101. And before I did that, I had an experience where my partner was on a rental bike and it had a rim brake, and the rim brake was like stuck on. It was squeezing the rim, and we had no idea how to fix it. So he was like biking with the brake activated on the front tire. And we like stopped and we were looking at it. And finally, like after multiple attempts, I figured out how to like disconnect the rim brake, but like I had no idea how to do anything. So now I can change my tires, and I've tried the derailleur adjustment, and I still have some practice to do there, because usually what happens is I go too far and I get it out of whack, and then it's hard to get it back in place. There's so much skill that happens with figuring out how to work your bikes. Do you want to share how you kind of like in your childhood, how you started working on bikes? Because that's just such a cool story.
Oh yeah. So I have a pretty unique experience as a child, because I'm originally from Charles City, Iowa. Mm-hmm. And they had an F5 tornado in 1968. I was 7 years old at the time. And so myself and the neighborhood kids could go out on the outskirts of town in the years following that tornado and find bicycles everywhere. They were like just laying in the woods.
Oh, wow.
And so we would drag them out and tear them apart and try to put them back together again, as kids do, and try to create our own contraptions. And in doing so, we learned how to change tires and how chains worked and so on and so forth. And so that's kind of my genesis in bicycle repair. I got really interested in that from that experience. And then eventually just ended up in a bike shop in 1993 and started working, and been involved in bicycle repair pretty much ever since.
Wow. What a completely unique story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're really lucky to have Mark, and we are still a very small organization. We have our board and then just 2 employees who are both part-time. So yeah, we really rely on all of us to be active in the organization, and the programs kind of come out of what each of our different interests are. So some of the other things we do, you mentioned frame recycling. Bicycle recycling was one of the very first things we started doing, and we still do that. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but like multiple tons of
last year we recycled through scrap metal recycler over 14,000 pounds of unwanted bikes.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's important to us to keep bikes out of the landfill, because a lot of residents don't know that if they put their bike on the curb and have the garbage service pick it up, it goes to the landfill. And so we've been trying to get the word out that they can bring them here, and then we can responsibly get it recycled or harvest parts out of it or refurbish the whole bike if it's worthy of that. And not only have we been able to do that here locally, but people have found out about us around the area. So for instance, a couple of years ago, I had a young woman come down and do Bike 101, and she's from the Decorah area, and she found out we recycled bikes, and so she put the word out up there that, hey, bring your bikes down if you don't want them anymore, if you got scrap bikes sitting around. And they brought down 88 bikes last year that we recycled for them. Roger, you met someone at the Iowa Bicycle Expo, was it that you met?
Yeah, he has a bike shop in another town up north of here, and we've made connection, and we've been able to take some of his excess old bikes off of his hands and use what's usable and recycle what's not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's something that a service we've been able to provide for the community and surrounding areas that will, help our environment be better, because we're not just throwing things into the ground here. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. Which I'm going to say that what you just described is a really cool thing that you all should be proud of. Do you have anything else that you think in your head that you're like, you know what? We are really proud of this.
Well, bike valays we do when Waterloo has festivals. They have every 2 weeks through the summer, they have a festival at the local park here. And then there's the Irish Fest, which is a big 4 or 5 day event. We run a bike valet at those celebrations so that people can ride and not have to park a vehicle, or not have to drive a vehicle or park a vehicle, ride their bike, and then we'll handle it. We'll take care of it all the while they're having fun, and then pick it up afterwards. And it's a free service. We don't charge, but we do take donations.
Yeah, right.
But that's another community service that that at least I'm proud of. It's all volunteer run, and we get some good publicity out of it also, because we're passing out brochures and telling the story of the Bike Collective at the same time that we're helping to preserve or keep people from having to risk their bike being stolen while they're at a festival or community celebration.
And I'm sure seeing that, right? If I, ride my bike and I see that there's a bike valet that's, tons of bikes in there, that's going to make me talk about that a little bit more and, promote you guys, but also get more of my cycling friends to go to the next event.
That's what we hope.
Yeah.
And so you said you had a couple of part-time employees, but the rest of you are volunteer powered. So how do you get your funding? Like, how do you pay to keep the Cedar Valley Bicycle Collective alive?
Well, it's always a struggle, but we seem to be able to manage. We obviously have sales. We sell refurbished bikes. We sell parts. So the sales are part of it. We have a list of people that we periodically solicit for contributions, for supporters, for donors. And we have a number of donors who pretty regularly donate. Since we're a nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit, we're eligible for a tax deduction if they want to file the long form. And then we aggressively go after grants, and we rely on 3 or 4 grants every year in order to cover our overhead. So that's how we make it go.
Mm-hmm. And of course, everyone knows that listens to this podcast that you are a part of RAGBRAI Gives. So riders, when they register for RAGBRAI, have the option to donate to your the collective of all the bike shops across Iowa.
Thank you for saying that. I was wondering how we were going to get to that. So thank you very much. We are so excited to be part of that this year. And actually a couple of us were there for the expo. I don't know if you got around, but we were there and talked to people all day long at the expo. So we're anticipating a very good result.
Yes, we are too for you. And it's just cool because, if people don't live in the Cedar Valley area, hopefully after listening to this podcast, they'll put it on their list of places that they need to go bike, because there's a lot to see in your area.
Oh yeah, both soft trail and hard trail biking There's a lot to do. And then we also have, and I'm not sure, Mark, what's the name of the Tundra Prairie? What's that really called?
I think you just named it.
Well, that's it. The official name is Tundra Prairie, but it's
like a bike park where kids can go. They have dirt jumps there and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So kids can go do some dirt jumping on their dirt bikes and whatnot. So that's it. And they also have a cyclocross race there every fall through the Iowa Cyclocross Series as well.
So I don't know who wants to answer this, but I've been asking every bike collective that we've interviewed, what's your opinion on the future of nonprofit bike collectives?
Well, as long as we have willing donors and foundations that are interested in funding us, I think it's good. I think there's a good future. One of the things that's going to be a challenge is the whole e-bike, e-scooter, the change and what's happening. We don't do anything with e-implements simply because we don't want to have to deal with the batteries. But I suppose in the future, that'd be something we'll have to look at. We did find out in talking to a bike shop that does deal with e-bikes that it's a sizable additional insurance issue just to have them inside your building because of the fact that unfortunately those batteries sometimes spontaneously burst into flames. And so it's a risk issue for the business and for their insurer. But depending on what happens with e-bikes and e-scooters and stuff, as long as there are conventional bikes, I think the future is good for us.
Yes.
And Mark, you already, kind of alluded to how kids just aren't biking as much, and there's a lot of factors at play there. But that's why we need organizations like ours and Safe Routes to School programs to, just continue to try and inspire kids to get on their bicycles and also to have affordable bicycles that their families can afford and purchase.
And I think go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. I was just going to add that recently the bicycle collectives have all kind of connected here in Iowa. That wasn't the case when I first started here. We were all kind of our own individual efforts. I think that I think this whole thing with the RAGBRAI donation to the bike collectives in Iowa kind of helped along with that. I think that we've invited actually some of the directors of some of the collectives in Iowa to talk to us at our board meetings. And so we've gained a lot of insight and different ideas from that. I think that there's a synergy there that if we pursue it, that the collectives can kind of connect and, bank on each other's strengths to become better for our communities and learn from each other. So I'm kind of excited about that part of it.
I love that idea. And as I've been interviewing each one of you, everyone operates so different than the others, but you all have the same passion. So I think that's such a great idea to share ideas with each other.
Yeah, I think it's going to be positive.
Yeah, I think one of the common elements is we all seem to rely on recycling bikes in one way or another.
So if someone's listening to this episode and they want to learn more about Cedar Valley Bicycle Collective, maybe they want to donate, maybe they want to find out volunteer opportunities, or just see what you're up to, where can they go to look?
Yeah, we have both a Facebook and an Instagram account, Cedar Valley Bicycle Collective. You can also go to our website, cvbikecollective.org. On the website, they can see what all of our programs are. They can sign up for a newsletter. They can donate. And then, to stay up on things that are happening on a regular basis, upcoming volunteer opportunities, events. For those things, you can follow our e-newsletter and our social media accounts.
And you can always stop by in person. We're open on Mondays and Wednesdays from 3 to 6 and Saturday mornings from 8 to noon.
Awesome. And if you have workbenches, do you allow people to come in and work on their own bikes, or is it more for classes?
It's more for classes at this point, but we may do that in the future.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, Kathryn, Mark, and Roger, thank you so much for sharing your story about the Cedar Valley Bicycle Collective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
fun.
thank you for the opportunity, Murph.
You bet. And of course, we'll put it in the show notes, but RAGBRAI Gives is the place to go where you can learn more about all of the Iowa bike shops and donate if you care to.
Mhm.
All right. Thanks,
One other
everyone.
thing I'll mention is if you want to come up and do we work with some of our other bicycle nonprofits in the Cedar Valley to put on the annual Bridges Ride. And so there's different route options. You can really do any part of the Cedar Valley Nature Trail, starting in Cedar Falls, Waterloo, or Evansdale. And then we have a big party at the Gilbertville Train Depot. So that is always the first Saturday in June, which is June 6th this year. So come up and see us for that event. It's a lot of fun.
National Trails Day.
National Trails Day?
Yes.
All right. And a good training ride for this year's RAGBRAI.
Exactly.
All
Could
right.
be.
Thank you all.
Yeah, you're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Well, listeners, that is it for today. We want to thank you for tuning in to listen to the Just Go Bike podcast. If you would like to contact Murph and AP with a comment about the podcast, or maybe even you have a topic in mind, you can reach us at justgobikepodcast@gmail.com. Please follow us on Instagram and Facebook and watch our intros on YouTube. And don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, especially if you're a fan. That is going to do it for this week. Until next time,
Just go bike.
theme song by Ryan Steer, logo by Suzanne Milosevic, produced by Kathy Murphy, social media by Andrea Parrott, intro by Pumpkin. Until next time, just go bike.